The story of America is a grand and complex tapestry, woven with threads of triumph and tragedy, innovation and struggle. It's a chronicle of a nation born from revolution, shaped by its contradictions, and forever striving to live up to its ideals. From the arrival of the first settlers to the digital age, the United States has undergone profound transformations, leaving an indelible mark on the world stage. This journey through American history will take us from the colonial settlements to the modern era, exploring the pivotal events and key figures that have shaped the nation's identity. We will witness the birth of a nation, the trials of its adolescence, and the complexities of its adulthood. This is a story of resilience, a testament to the enduring human spirit, and a reminder that the American narrative, much like America itself, is constantly evolving. Our exploration begins with the arrival of European settlers on the shores of a land already inhabited by diverse indigenous peoples. We'll delve into the clash of cultures, the establishment of colonies, and the seeds of revolution that were sown in this fertile ground. The American story is not a fairy tale, it's a story of resilience. It's a story about people, their dreams, their struggles, and their triumphs. It's a story that continues to unfold today, reminding us that the pursuit of a more perfect union is an ongoing journey, not a destination. The story of the United States begins long before the signing of the Declaration of Independence. In the 17th century, European powers, primarily England, established colonies along the Atlantic coast. Driven by a thirst for land, resources, and religious freedom, these early settlers embarked on a perilous journey across the ocean. Life in the New World was harsh, marked by disease, conflict, and the constant struggle for survival. The colonists encountered a land already inhabited by a diverse tapestry of indigenous peoples. These Native American tribes had their own cultures, languages, and ways of life, deeply connected to the land. The arrival of Europeans clash of cultures, leading to alliances, trade, but also conflict and displacement. The colonists' hunger for land and resources put them at odds with the Native Americans, who fiercely defended their ancestral territory. Despite the hardships, the colonies flourished. The fertile soil and abundant resources fueled economic growth. The colonists established systems of government, built communities, and developed their own However, the seeds of discontent were sown as the colonies matured. England's control over trade, taxation without representation, and interference in colonial affairs sparked resentment and fueled the governance. By the mid-18th century, the colonies had developed a strong sense of identity and the belief that they deserved a voice in their own governance. The stage was set for a revolution that would forever alter the course of history and The American Revolution was not simply a war for independence, it was a clash of ideologies, a battle of principles that would shape the future of a new nation. The colonists, fueled by Enlightenment ideals and a growing sense of injustice, challenged the very foundation of British rule. They were inspired by the writings of thinkers like John Locke and Montesquieu, who advocated for natural rights and the separation of powers. The cry of no taxation without representation echoed through the colonies, encapsulating the colonists' outrage at being subjected to laws they had no hand in creating. This sentiment galvanized the population, uniting them in their quest for self-determination. The revolution ignited in 1775 with the battles of Lexington and Concord. These skirmishes marked the beginning of open conflict between the colonies and the British Empire. Outnumbered and outgunned, the colonial militias, driven by a fierce determination to defend their liberties, faced off against the might of the British Army. Their resilience and resourcefulness became legendary. The signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776 marked a turning point in the conflict. This document was a bold statement of the colony's intent to break free from British rule. This bold document, penned by Thomas Jefferson, proclaimed the colony's right to self-governance and articulated the revolutionary ideals of liberty and equality. It was a manifesto that resonated deeply with the colonists and beyond. The war raged for 8 long years, marked by both triumphs and setbacks for the Continental Army. The struggle was arduous, with many battles fought under harsh conditions. General George Washington, the commander-in-chief of the colonial forces, emerged as a symbol of resilience and leadership. His strategic acumen and unwavering commitment were crucial to the colonial cause. Despite facing hardships, defeats, and dwindling supplies, Washington rallied his troops, inspiring them to fight for the dream of a new nation founded on freedom. His leadership was instrumental in maintaining the morale and cohesion of the Continental Army. The American victory at Yorktown in 1781 signaled the end of the war and the birth of the United States of America. This decisive battle demonstrated the effectiveness of the colonial forces and their French allies. The Treaty of Paris in 1783 formally recognized American independence, marking a watershed moment in world history. This treaty not only ended the war, but also set the stage for the United States to emerge as a new player on the global stage. The American Revolution not only gave birth to a new nation, but also inspired revolutions and movements for independence around the globe. The ideals of liberty, equality, and self-governance echoed far beyond American shores, influencing countless other struggles for freedom and justice. Section 4. A Nation Divided, the Civil War. The issue of slavery cast a long shadow over the young nation, creating deep divisions that would eventually lead to conflict. The Southern states, heavily reliant on enslaved labor for their agricultural economy, clashed with the abolitionist North, where the moral and economic arguments against slavery gained momentum. The North, driven by a growing abolitionist movement, saw slavery as a moral blight that contradicted the nation's founding ideals. The nation, founded on the principles of liberty and equality, grappled with the hypocrisy of a system that denied basic human rights to millions. This contradiction became increasingly untenable as the country expanded and new states were added to the Union. The election of Abraham Lincoln, a staunch opponent of slavery in 1860, proved to be the catalyst for secession. His victory was seen as a direct threat to the Southern way of life and their economic interests. Southern states, fearing the abolition of slavery and the erosion of their way of life, seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. This bold move was a declaration of their intent to preserve their social and economic systems at all costs. This act of defiance plunged the nation into a bloody civil war, a conflict that would test the very fabric of the United States. The Civil War was a brutal conflict, pitting brother against brother, father against son. Families were torn apart and communities were divided as the nation grappled with its future. The battlefields were soaked in the blood of over 600,000 soldiers, a stark testament to the human cost of division and the enduring legacy of slavery. The immense loss of life and the widespread destruction left scars that would take generations to heal. From Gettysburg to Antietam, the horrors of war unfolded on a massive scale, leaving an indelible mark on the nation's psyche. These battles became symbols of the immense sacrifices made and the high stakes of the conflict. In 1863, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, a watershed moment that declared the freedom of slaves in Confederate territories. This bold move redefined the war, giving it a new moral purpose. This executive order, issued amidst the turmoil of war, redefined the conflict as a fight not just for preservation of the Union, but for the liberation of an oppressed people. It galvanized the Union cause and added a moral imperative to the military struggle. The Civil War ultimately ended in 1865 with the defeat of the Confederacy, marking the abolition of slavery and a pivotal step towards fulfilling the promise of equality for all. The end of the war set the stage for Reconstruction, a challenging period of rebuilding and integrating the Southern states back into the Union, while also addressing the rights and status of the newly freed African Americans. Section 5. Progress and its price, the Industrial Revolution. Following the tumultuous period of the Civil War and Reconstruction, the United States embarked on an era of unprecedented industrial growth and technological advancement. This era marked a significant shift from an agrarian economy to one dominated by industry and manufacturing. The late 19th and early 20th centuries witnessed a dramatic transformation of the American landscape and society. Cities expanded rapidly and new technologies began to reshape everyday life. From sprawling factories to bustling cities, the nation embraced innovation, propelling itself to the forefront of the world stage. The rise of skyscrapers symbolized the new era of architectural and engineering feats. The invention of the telephone, the light bulb, and the automobile revolutionized communication, transformed daily life, and fueled economic expansion. These inventions not only changed how people lived, but also how they worked and interacted with each other. Immigrants from around the globe flocked to American shores seeking opportunity and a better life. They brought with them diverse cultures, traditions, and skills that enriched the American social fabric. They provided the labor force that fueled the booming industries, adding to the nation's cultural tapestry. Their hard work and determination were crucial in building the infrastructure of modern America. However, this period of progress was not without its shadows. The rapid industrialization led to environmental degradation, with pollution becoming a significant issue in many urban areas. The rapid industrialization led to harsh working conditions, exploitation of labor, and a widening gap between the rich and the poor. Many workers toiled long hours in unsafe environments for meager wages. Labor unions emerged, fighting for workers' rights, fair wages, and better working conditions. These movements were pivotal in advocating for social justice and labor reforms. The Gilded Age, as it came to be known, exposed the stark inequalities that existed beneath the veneer of progress. While the wealthy enjoyed opulent lifestyles, many lived in squalor and poverty. The Industrial Revolution brought about profound changes, shaping the social, economic, and political fabric of the United States. It was a time of great innovation but also of significant social challenges. It laid the foundation for the nation's rise as a global power, but also highlighted the need for social reform and a more equitable society. The disparities and injustices of the era called for a reevaluation of American values and policies. The seeds of the progressive era were sown, setting the stage for reforms aimed at addressing the ills of industrialization and creating a more just society. This period of activism and change sought to balance the scales and ensure that progress benefited all citizens, not just the privileged few.